honored to be here on this very exciting day. I'd like to welcome everyone who's here with us at Nationals Park, as well as those watching on nationals.com, Masson, and MLB Network. Earlier this morning, the Washington Nationals officially announced that Paul Toboni has been named the club's president of baseball operations. Paul, welcome to Washington, D.C. It's a privilege to have you, your wife Danielle, your 4 boys who already have their Nationals jerseys and a chain as well, already decked out, I love it, and other members of your family here today. Also here with us today on the dais are Washington Nationals principal owners Mark Lerner, Ed Cohen, and Bob Tannenbaum. Welcome, gentlemen. We're pleased to be joined as well by other members of the Lerner, Cohen, and Tannenbaum families, as well as other Washington Nationals founding partners. I'd like to extend a special welcome to Angie Gates, President and Chief Executive Officer of Events DC. Thank you so much for joining us today, Angie. And now it's my pleasure to turn things over to Washington Nationals Managing Principal Owner, Mark Lerner. Mark?
Thank you, Dan. Good morning, everyone. Exciting day. My family and I are thrilled to officially introduce Paul as our President of Baseball Operations. He is truly impressive. You'll find that out for yourselves pretty soon. And we are excited about the fresh voice he brings to our organization. We are all energized and optimistic about where the team is headed. When we set out to find a new leader for our baseball operations, our goal was to find someone who could build a world-class department that will attract and develop some of the top talent in the sport. With Paul, we found not only that, but someone who leads through communication and collaboration, and who has the ability to connect with our staff and the players on our roster. Paul already has the respect of his colleagues and peers across baseball. That isn't surprising, given how he modernized the draft process in just a few short years in Boston and played a crucial role in turning that franchise around. All of us here are so excited to work with Paul and support the vision he has for the Nats. We're confident that he's the person we need to build a winning culture here in D.C. Paul, we're so thrilled to welcome you and your family into our family. Okay, who's next? Ed? Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Good.
And Paul's next. Paul, at this time, I'll open it up to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to start out with a few thank yous. First of all, thank you to the Lerner, Cohen, and Tannenbaum families. Thank you for entrusting me with overseeing this baseball operation. It's a responsibility that I do not take lightly, and it's my goal to make you all proud of what we build here. I'd like to thank the Boston Red Sox organization. Specifically, I'd like to thank John, Tom, Mike, Sam, Brez. Thank you for allowing me to pursue this opportunity, but also thank you for all your support over the last 10 plus years. I'd like to thank all the heads of baseball operations I've worked under, Ben Sherrington, Dave Dombrowski, Chaim Bloom and Brian O'Halloran, and Craig Breslow. I've learned a lot from all of their leadership styles, and I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to work for all of them. And I'd like to also thank everyone else in the Red Sox organization, those that I worked really closely with, but also, the coaches, the scouts, the analysts, the parking lot attendants I'm going to miss, the custodians I'm going to miss. I'm going to miss seeing all of them every day. So thank you to all of you as well. I'd like to thank my family who's here today, my folks and my siblings. I like to say I hit the lottery at birth. I had no control over the circumstances that I was born into, but they have all struck a great balance of loving me but challenging me, and I'm forever in debt to all of you. To my wife Danielle and our 4 boys, JC, Patrick, Sonny, and Mickey, all of you make life so fun. It can be crazy at times, but I'm lucky to have all of you in my life. So thank you to everyone. I'm stepping into this role with a clear vision, and that vision is to be the highest performing organization in all sports. I want to help build something that becomes the envy of all of sports, right? Where we get X amount of months and years down the line, and people are looking at this organization like, shoot, I want to be part of that organization. We have a lot of work to do. That's okay. We're going to embrace it, and while it's going to be challenging, it's going to be really rewarding when we get to where we want to go. To me, one of the simplest ways of doing that is creating a scouting and player development monster, right? And to do that in the current game, that means integrating analytics and R&D really tightly within those spaces where we are ultimately graduating young, talented players to the major leagues. Okay. But more so than that, we can talk about driving great process or building great systems, creating a winning culture, right? In my mind, you do that with people, and I've said it time and time again, but you win with people, right? And if we are going to achieve that, we want people that carry themselves with joy, that through the ups and the downs, they maintain a really optimistic attitude, right? Folks that are humble and, as Greg Popovich likes to say, have gotten over themselves. We want folks of high integrity, right? And that doesn't mean just not stealing or not cheating or not lying. That means folks that are dependable, that are accountable, folks that when they say they're going to do something, they do it, right? And folks that are going to work, right? Those are all traits that we very much are going to hold sacred. And then last but not least, we want folks that are competitive, right? I talk about making the scoreboard visible and thriving in that environment. We want there to be winners and losers, right? And like I said, we want to thrive in that environment, right? So I'm a big hoops fan, and I couldn't imagine playing a game of one-on-one and not keeping score, right? So that's going to be central to who we are as well. I think if we build a group in baseball operations that carry those attributes, it's like the great Bill Walsh says, right? The score will take care of itself. And so that's the mindset we're going to keep every day. We're going to stack good decisions on top of each other day after day after day and let the score take care of itself. So in closing, once again, thank you to the Lerner, Cohen, and Tannenbaum families. Thank you so much for entrusting me with this responsibility, and I can't wait to get going.
Thank you, Paul. At this point, we will take questions from the media. We have Daniel and Jacob with microphones around the room. Please raise your hand, introduce yourself to Paul, and we'll get going.
Hi, Paul. Mark Zuckerman with Masson. Congrats. I'm sure as you went through the interview process, there's a lot of selling of yourself to them. I'm curious what you tried to outline in that regard, but I'm also curious what they told you, how they sold themselves to you that made you believe this was the place you wanted to be.
Yeah, so to the first part of your question, I think more than anything, I just wanted to be myself, right? And if I was myself and it was something that they liked, great. And if they didn't like it, also fine, right? I was very happy in the Boston Red Sox organization. To the second part of your question, listen, when I first started the process of interviewing, I didn't know if this was the place I wanted to be. I loved the city. My wife loved the city. Our family loved the city. Knew that it was a great franchise, right? But ownership was an unknown to us. And what we came to find out during that interview process was this is an incredibly warm, humble, grounded set of people that love baseball. And, we were going to hold a pretty high bar if we were going to leave the Boston Red Sox organization. And this cleared it because of that, really. Ownership's love for baseball, how competitive they are, and really how great of people they are. Like, that's what I really bought into, which, made my wife and I think that this was the jump we were going to make.
Andrew?
Hey, Paul. Andrew Golden, Washington Post. For you, given there's a lot of responsibilities to hire a general manager, there's a lot of different roles to fill. How do you prioritize what you're supposed to be working on or doing at this current point in time, and how do you kind of assess what needs to be done as you look at the organization as a whole?
Yeah, I think, someone gave me some advice a while back, and it's move the big rocks first, right? And then you can kind of pick up the pebbles at a later date. So Right now, I've only been in the organization for a couple days, but what I've started to try to prioritize, and what I'm going to continue to prioritize, is getting to know people, right? Like what I said, I really meant, right? Like you win with people, and figuring out not just what type of people we have, but how they think through creating a really good department, or a really good scouting process, or a really good, strategy in the dugout, whatever it might be. Like that's where I'm going to spend my time initially, and then there's a lot that's going to be coming our way, right, as the off season starts, and so it's going to feel at times like I think all of us are drinking out of a fire hose, and that's all right. I think it goes back to the first point I made, which is we'll just prioritize on moving the big rocks first.
Hey, Paul. Spencer Nussbaum from the Washington Post. I'm curious what sort of assurances you've gotten in terms of latitude for spending, hiring, all those kind of processes. What sort of assurances you've been given, and how that influenced your decision to take the job here?
Yeah, more than anything, like what I can point to is that I'm in this seat right now for a reason, right? And throughout the interview process, and even after accepting the job, I've felt incredibly supported, and that's the main thing. I continue to feel that support, and that will allow us to build a world-class organization, which is what the goal for all of us will be.
Hi, Paul. Howard Fendrich with the Associated Press. You mentioned the heads of baseball operations you've worked under in the past. I'm curious, what would you say was the single best piece of advice you got from one of those people about constructing a team?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I think maybe when you initially get into the game and you're part of this younger demographic, right? Like you think about just chasing players that maybe fit great on a spreadsheet, right? But there's so much more to it, right? And having played, like I've experienced it as well and felt it as well, right? And as the game has continued to modernize, right? Like placing a incredible amount of focus on creating a winning culture is front of mind for me, and it's something I learned from a few of those folks. And more than anything, I think like what that means is, and I see Derek back here, it's like we want to create an environment where our players are not just holding themselves accountable, but holding each other accountable. And I think if we do that, we'll make a lot of headway in terms of building that winning culture that we want to be proud of.
Hey, Paul. Jess Camerato from MLB.com. Hey, when you look at this Nationals team, what strikes you the most about this roster?
I think more than anything, we have some young, exciting players, right? I've been in touch with a number of them to date, and they're fun to watch. And I've told, many of them, while I haven't had the chance to reach out to everyone, I've told many of them, like, and I really believe it, I think there's another gear to tap into with many of them. And so it's not just that they're already really talented players, right? It's that it's easy for me to see a world a year or two down the line where we're seeing a different caliber of player in a good way.
Hey, Paul, it's Barry Sperluga with Washington Post. My question is actually for Mark. Mark, what, in your conversations with Paul, what assurances did you give him from ownership that he would have the resources to build a modern front office and pay a competitive payroll like you paid when you were in the playoffs all the time?
We all gave him assurances, I would say that. The family is determined to get back to where we were a few years ago. We're going to do what it takes. We're going to do that in conjunction with sitting down with Paul when he's ready and saying, I need to do this and need to do that. And we'll take it from there. This is not a decision that has to be made today. But we will be there, and we're going to get back to where we know we should be.
Good morning. David Aldridge with The Athletic. Paul, you were in an organization that won big and won consistently big for a long time. And I just wonder, what were some of the hallmarks of that organization that you think are transferable to this one?
Honestly, the thing I think about most is what I think I explained to, was it Howard? Especially this year, there is such an accountability piece on not just the Major League staff, but amongst the player group. That's a big thing for me. But also, what I think about is like summers in Boston, right? Kids are, they're having fun during the day, and they're maybe going to summer school or playing sports or whatever it is, and then they're showing up to Fenway at night, right? And Fenway's like their safe place where they're having a blast, and you just, it's funny actually between, ending my time with the Red Sox and fully hopping on board with the Nationals. I went to a game at Fenway just as a fan with two of my kids, and I looked around and I was like, gosh, there are a lot of young kids here, right? So when I think about that as it relates to DC, I see my kids right here. It's, hey, you want them, playing sports or having fun during the day. You want them going to the museums, but then we want to create an environment where not just my kids, but kids around DC, around the greater region, are filling up the park. Just because it's what it should be about. It's a great sport. It's the best sport, in my opinion, and I love it so much. And one of the reasons why I love it so much is I grew up in San Francisco, going to Candlestick and Pac Bell or AT&T or SBC or Oracle, whatever they. But I went to hundreds of games, right? And I think that's where I really fell in love with the game. And I want kids in the DC area to fall in love with the game the same way I did.
Hey, Paul, Toby Altizer, 106.7 The Fan. You mentioned a scouting and development monster. How do you go about building that development system? And on the scouting side, how do you marry your background as a scout with the analytics?
Yeah, great question. I'll put my hand up. I'm a huge believer in analytics, right? I'm also a strong advocate and believe in the power of area scouting, and I believe in the power of great coaching, right? So what we want to do is, have folks that have mutual respect for both, right? But also they understand how their responsibilities contribute to the greater goals of the department, right? And then we can clearly outline what's expected of everyone in their roles, right? And then it's up to them to really get after it and do a great job, right? So, I think that's the main thing. I've been around a lot of coaches that are very technically sound, right, but don't quite understand the art of coaching, and they're not as effective influencing players, right? And then I've been around coaches that really get the art of coaching but are behind technically, right, and they're not as good as they can be impacting players, right? So ideally, we are, outfitted in our group with scouts, coaches, whoever it might be, right, with both those traits. They really get how to connect with players and build trust and those type things, but also they're really well versed technically how to get players better, right? And, once players start to see that, like, wow, this coach is really getting me better and I'm getting the feedback that I'm getting better, it just creates this cascading buy-in where they're realizing that they are becoming the best versions of themselves, right? So the more we can do that over and over and over again, I think the word will get out around the league amongst the players. Like, the Washington Nationals is the place where I want to be because I know I'm going to develop most as a player there.
Hey, Paul. Bobby Blanco, MassinSports.com. You just talked about the young Red Sox fans, and the Red Sox obviously have a much older tradition than the Nationals do right now. What was your message be to the young DC baseball fans that you kind of want to get back to Nationals Park?
First and foremost, I think we have a ton of young players, right, that are exciting young talents on our major league team. And I think we're going to have more, right, as time goes on. But almost separating that for a second, right? Like, let's forget the players we have. Let's forget, me in this role or the front office, the coaches, the scouts. Like, baseball is such a great game, right? And, to those kids, like, come to the park over and over and over again. I think you'll realize that there's a good chance that you're going to fall in love with this game, right? Just because of how great it is. So, that's the main thing. And, sports is, in my opinion, like, so deeply woven into the fabric of this area. Not just baseball, but I mentioned I'm a big hoops fan. I think about Georgetown hoops. I think about Howard hoops. Like, I think about DeMatha and Coach Wooden and Wooten and all the great players that have come through there, right? It's not just at the pro level, not just at the college level or the high school level. Like, this is a great area for sports, and it's my hope that kids just dive into it because sports has been such a positive influence on my life. I hope that kids around the area can experience the same.
Hey, Ryan. Hey, Paul. Ryan from 106.7 The Fan there. So looking around baseball, obviously, a lot of teams have identities. Like, you look at the Rays, they're a draft and develop organization. Like, what do you believe the Nationals kind of how will people perceive the Washington Nationals under your leadership?
Yeah, so how I think about this is I want to dominate both the big things and the small things, right? So when I think about the big things, like, yeah, do we want guys that throw hard? Yeah, we want guys that throw hard, right? Do we want guys that hit the ball hard? Yeah, we want guys that hit the ball hard, right? At the same time, we want to be best in the league at, first to third, right? Or cuts and relays, being really efficient with our footwork, those small things, right? Like I think about the tag play all the time. I look around the big league still, and like guys aren't dropping tags the way they should be, right? And so those small things, right? I think about the contact play at third base, right? Like those type small things, I think we have to dominate. And yeah, we might not be bunting, every inning, right? But when you're called upon to bunt, like you got to get it down, right? And so I think there's for whatever reason, kind of a narrative that's been built throughout the game. Like you either care about the big things or you care about the small things. And my approach on that is we should dominate both.
For Mark, and if Ed and Bob want to share their thoughts as well, that'd be great. It was a little over 4 years ago that the organization started the rebuilding process, and I know the results are not so far what you would have hoped, and you wouldn't make this kind of change if you felt that way. But do you view this as a start over of that process? This is another long-term issue, or do you believe that there are pieces in place that winning is more of a short-term goal than a long-term goal right now?
Well, first of all, I don't believe that we've gone backwards. I think we have a lot of great talent, a lot of these young men you haven't even seen yet. They're down at Rochester or Wilmington, Fredericksburg. So I think that we're giving Paul a great palette of young players. There's more we need to do, obviously, and we're not happy where we are right now. That's why we brought in Paul, and we're going to get back to where we're supposed to be. That's the commitment that we're all making to our fans, and don't give up on us. We're gonna be there again, guaranteed.
Paul, you mentioned the coaching and how you can have different types of coaches who maybe are technically sound but not vice versa, and the same goes the other way. How do you kind of assess the current coaching staff and whether to bring them back, and also in the minor leagues, and then also like how do you judge somebody based off of staying down in the boardroom when you can't see what they're doing when the season's over?
Sorry, I missed the last part of that question.
I guess how do you assess the coaches and what they can do from
Yeah.
a technical perspective and those sort of things when like you're sitting down with them in the boardroom and they're not coaching on the field, you can't see it. I guess how do you kind of assess where somebody's at and what they can do?
Yeah, I think it's challenging, right? Because you want to balance two things. Like you want to balance being quick and decisive, like it's a really competitive industry and folks are after the same people, right? While at the same time, like I said, it's my second or third day on the job, right? Like you want to try and get to know people and figure out what they're about. So I talk about the values that I hold sacred. Like I think it starts there, right? And then it gets into kind of some of the nuance, like, hey, how do you think about hitting, or how do you think about pitching, right? And then from there, I think we're going to make a decision that's really based in the well-being of the organization as it relates to all those positions, right? So. It's going to be a process, but one that hopefully we can move on sooner rather than later out of respect to everyone.
Time for a few more. Spencer, go ahead.
Yeah, question for Paul. When you think about stepping into that larger player development role in Boston, what were some of the, I guess, bigger changes you made in terms of modernization there, and how does that inform what you plan to do here?
So when I first hopped into that role, one thing I did was I went around baseball, right? Like working on the scouting side for a long period of time, you develop great relationships with college coaches around the country, right? And you also develop relationships with all these facilities that many major leaguers work out in the off season, right? So the approach that I took was honestly just visiting a lot of those places and having a lot of really good conversations with coaches and trainers and whoever it might be. And then you think about, what you want to build within, in this case, the Red Sox organization at that point in time, right? I think the thing that screams out to me most regarding my visits and ultimately what we tried to achieve in Boston was just complete alignment throughout the organization, right? I can empathize with a player that is in A-ball and then gets promoted to high A and they're getting different messages from a pitching coach, right? Or they go from AA to AAA and, the catching coach is teaching technique way different, right? So we want to create really great alignment throughout the organization. And, I think more than anything too, like we want whatever we value to basically be what drives value in the major leagues, right? So we're going to work backwards from there and pour ourselves into educating staff and players as to why we are doing things, right? Because I strongly believe that's really important too, right? Like if I'm just going up to one of our hitters and saying you should do this, right? He's probably going to be like, the hell with you, man, right? But if I say like, hey, let's talk through where your deficiencies are, right? Let's be really honest with the assessment of yourself as a player, right? And then let's work together, and I'm going to support the heck out of you as you address these deficiencies. And we lay out the reasons why. Like, I've just found that, hey, it's not going to work every time, but players are content with the process because they're looped into it, right? So that's what we aim to achieve here. I think, honestly, that's what the best organizations in baseball and around sports do well.
All right, we'll finish up with Howard.
Do you know already what sort of a front office structure you want? Do you plan to hire a GM right away? And do you have a sense of what Mike DeBartolo, whether he might have a role staying with the franchise?
Yeah, so to the first part of your question, like the perspective I have, right, is coming from the Red Sox organization, what the structure looked like there, right? Obviously having some understanding of what the structures look like around baseball, right? So that informs, how I think through this, but am I like completely tied to that? No, not at all, right? I think like we can be stubborn on the vision that we have, but flexible on the details of achieving it, right? As it relates to the general manager position, these folks have been great in their support with me, where if it's something that I think is in the best interest of the organization, we can do it, right? At the same time, like, I don't think it's a definite yes or no at this point in time. What I would say about Mike, and I've told Mike this, prior to me accepting this job, I had about 10 people reach out just saying unbelievable things about him as a person and as a baseball mind. I told him he was shooting 10 for 10 from the line. This is before I even met him. And I think, in my early interactions with them, once again, it's just been 2 or 3 days. I see a lot of that. I think the world of him. So yeah, excited to work alongside him.
All right, that is all the time we have for questions right now. I'd like to thank Paul, Mark, Ed, and Bob for their time, and thank you all for watching at home. At this point, we'll do a group photo with the gentleman up here, and then we'll call everybody up for family photos. And we will bring Paul back in the room after he does a live radio interview here in a little bit. So thanks again, everybody.